Welcome to The Creatives. My name is Herb White. I'm editor-in-chief at the Charlotte Post. And joining me for this episode of the podcast is none other than Kelly Starling Lyons, an author of children's books. And you've got some big things going on these days. Even though you live in Raleigh, you've got some
Yeah.
big things going on in Charlotte. But welcome to the podcast nonetheless.
Thank you so much. Thrilled to be here.
So, like I mentioned in the open, you're from Raleigh, and you are an author, and one of your books is the subject of a play that's going on at Children's Theater of Charlotte. Uh,
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about Tiana's Hat Parade, what it
Sure.
is, the inspiration behind it, and getting picked up uh, by a theater company for the first time, I trust.
Yes. I mean, this has been a dream come true. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And when I was younger, my mom would take my brother Kevin and me to Pittsburgh Playhouse Junior, where we would see children's plays. And so to now have a book that I wrote, on stage for kids just means everything. The book is Tiara's Hat Parade. I'm the author. The illustrator is Nicole Tadgell, who lives in Virginia. And the story is about this girl who is kind of inspired by her mom's millinery business. So it really connects with Black-owned business. Her mom has a hat shop inside their home, and people from the community come. And it's not just about hats, it's about giving confidence and giving appreciation and showing and complimenting their beauty and their style. There's a big box hat store that opens up, and that puts pressure on mom, and she ends up shuttering her business. That's something that doesn't just hurt mom, it hurts Tiara, her daughter, who had been kind of her model. She loved the fun of the hats and getting to meet all the ladies. And when the shop is shuttered, Tiara comes up with a way to bring the magic back for mama and for the community. So I'm really honored that the play is part of the Children's Theater of Charlotte's Kindness Project.
Mhm.
This is the sixth book that has been adapted in that series. And the mission is really just to spread kindness, to teach kids how important it is to love one another and support one another. And in the story, Tiara has such a loving, kind gesture for her mom and for the community. So that's one of the reasons why it was selected. I got a chance to see it this weekend for the world premiere, which was amazing. I have to shout out the actress, Lydia Danielle. It's a one-woman show. So she actually plays more than 8 characters. And each time she plays a character, you fully believe that she is that person, whether it's daddy, whether it's mama, what Tiara, one of the hat ladies, the bully in the play. She does such an amazing job. The playwright is Paige Hernandez, who has such a storied background and has done many wonderful plays. And the director is Angelisa Gilliard, who also is really respected. She's Helen Hayes award nominated, and just really blessed to be part of this cast of this team of creatives. The artistic director of the theater, Adam Burke, he's the one, along with his team, who chose the book for adaptation. And so it's just been such a joy to work with everybody there. They are such talents and so giving. And thank you for this opportunity to talk about that.
Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the dates of the
Oh,
run
yes.
of the play, February 22nd to March 9
Yes.
at Imaginon. Uh, in terms of the play itself,
Hmm.
you obviously had a chance to look at your work adapted for the stage.
Yes.
What was that like in terms of working with the people who brought your book to life in terms of the playwright Paige Hernandez uh,
Hmm.
and Lydia Danielle, who plays all these characters.
Right.
Is that like to work with a team of people beyond the scope of putting together a book?
Right. So It was really cool to have a chance to be part of the entire process. We actually had a workshop back in July where I had a chance to come to the theater along with Paige and Lydia and Angelisa and more members of the team. And we got to, see Paige's draft of the story as Lydia acted it and see what nuances needed to be polished or what, extra details we could add or what needed to be taken out. Paige is so gifted that the notes that were given during that session, she actually rewrote it for the next day. And so we were able to, see this evolution of the play. And even when I came to Charlotte last week, I came on Tuesday before the premiere on Saturday. We had a chance to, kind of give feedback then too. And Paige and Lydia and Angelisa were working in concert to make real-time changes. Cutting the run time so the pacing was quicker. We got a chance to have a school audience on Friday and see how they responded, which jokes landed, which things they were really awed by. So it's really interesting because I write books and I don't always I do have a team in terms of the editor and the art director and the illustrator, but I don't work in the same room with creatives like the process is for the play. And also when I'm writing, it's really the reader's imagination, which is working with the pictures on the page to involve them in the story. But with a play, you're hearing the voice and you're seeing Lydia's um, really incredible transformation into each character. It's really cool because with a change in her tone of voice, a change in her body language, different expressions on her face, she becomes a totally different character, and you get it. And so I just say hats off to everyone on the team, and I'm really blessed. The other thing that was really cool for me this weekend was getting a chance to connect with some of the young readers. BCDI Carolinas brought out a bunch of families and the kids had books. And so I got to sign their books and hear what they thought of the play. Also, Grooming Greatness did a couple of Lit Fest events at local libraries leading up to the play to build excitement about the book. And I've just been so thankful for the community support and all the ways that we can take the story from the page to the stage and let kids know what is possible.
An author's dream.
Yes, definitely.
History is replete with books being adapted to the stage and screen, uh, from mysteries to whatever, that type of thing. Is that something that you have recently thought about, or has that always been a goal to get an adaptation deal where you can
Yes.
say, "Oh, my stuff is on stage," or maybe even down the road, there's a movie about it?
Right. It's always been a goal, As I said, I grew up going to children's theater. So whereas some people dream of having a book made into a movie, that would be great. I would love that. But my big dream was to have a book made into a play. And so this is really like that full circle moment. It actually was a play before coming here at the Book It Theater in Seattle. Tiara's Hat Parade toured in the schools and libraries there. But this is the first time where it's on a public stage where everybody can come and see. And there's also school groups that are coming during the week, and to have a chance to be part of the process, to see the rough draft from the playwright and be able to share thoughts. Something else I should mention, which is really special to me about this play. When I write, family is really a core of who I am. So often my books will have names of family members in at least one book. The stories are inspired sometimes by people in my family, people who I know. Age is similar. So in the play, there's meaning behind every name. It's either someone who she's connected to or who I'm connected to. The play also celebrates Black history, so it's not just this fictional family. In the back of the book, which we call Back Matter, I have bios of three famous Black women milliners One is May Reeves, and her hat shop in Philadelphia is the one that's partially recreated at the National Museum of African American History and Culture in DC. If you've ever been there, you've seen that hat shop. That's hers. Wasn't just a hat shop, it was also kind of a gathering place. She registered people to vote there. Another one I mentioned was Mildred Blount, who was a hat maker for celebrities, most notably for some, although I think her whole body of work is something to praise. But she designed some of the hats for Gone with the Wind, though she didn't get credit. And then last is Vanilla Bean, who was a North Carolina native who moved to Washington, D.C. and had an incredible millinery shop, Benet Millinery. And she lived to be, I think, 101 and was continuing to make hats all the way up till the end. And her one of her big clients was Dr. Dorothy Height, who's a civil rights woman rights hero, and also has a role in the play because I named the elementary school Dr. Dorothy Height Elementary. It's called Height Elementary in the book, and we spell it out in the play. But the projectionist, who is a black man, really talented, he actually has images of those famous milliners that are on the stage, so kids can not just hear their names but see their faces. When we have Dr. Dorothy Height Elementary, there's a picture of Dr. Dorothy Height, and there's some information about who she was.
Yeah, because she
So
loved a good hat.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
But so it was really meaningful for me for it to not just celebrate family, which it does, and giving and Black business, but also to pour into kids' legacy within their own family, within our greater community and our nation, all the um, marks of Black excellence that we have that sometimes people don't realize.
you mentioned that this is all unfolding during Black History Month.
Yes.
Was that something that was intentional? Well, and because so many of the leading characters in this book and in this play are women, it kind
Yeah.
of tails right into women's history.
It does. Yes. I didn't have a say in the scheduling, but everything is so intentional at the Children's Theater of Charlotte that I am sure that it bridges both Black History Month and Women's History Month on purpose. That's a statement in and of itself, especially now when we're having so many challenges to Black history and books. I think it's really speaks to the integrity of the theater to stand 10 toes down in supporting Black art and Black creators. The playwright, the director, the actress, and we're all Black women. The woman who did the hats for the play, she's a Black woman. The projectionist is a Black man. So this is full of Black creatives, people of color, all working together to make sure it's a play that speaks to children of all backgrounds and all and those who love them. Um, Another thing to mention is this play will go on tour, so I'm really excited about that. So it'll be in Charlotte, as you mentioned, through March 9th, but next year it will open in Greenville, South Carolina, and then it will go to some other theaters, including Orlando, Florida, Madison, Wisconsin, and Omaha, Nebraska. So this is really cool that the play will get a chance to travel, and Paige, the playwright, is open to it going to more places. So we hope that other theaters, as it starts to tour, will express interest and add it to their schedules too.
Yeah, that is great stuff. Um,
Thank you.
you mentioned earlier about going to the theater as a child.
Mhm.
In terms of inspiration to branch out into writing books, what person or event sparked that interest in you to say, you know what, I'm going to write books and I'm going to target younger audiences with these books?
Yeah, absolutely. So, growing up in Pittsburgh, I was a big reader. My mom took my brother and me to Carnegie Library, Pittsburgh Playhouse Junior. My mom wrote herself. She wrote plays. She was part of country repertory theater. She wrote community theater. So I grew up seeing her as a storyteller, as a writer, as well as an actress. When I went to school, I knew I wanted to do some kind of writing. Wasn't sure what kind. I started out as a journalist. I worked for Ebony Magazine. I worked for the News and Observer in Raleigh, the Syracuse Herald Journal. While I was working in Ebony, along with writing feature articles, I was the bookshelf editor for a time. And I got these picture books across my desk. And I was like, oh my goodness. Because when I was younger, though there is such a strong legacy and breadth of Black children's literature not everybody knows about, it wasn't reaching me. And so when I finally saw these Black children's books, I said, maybe I could add my voice to make sure all kids know they deserve to be the stars of stories. I remember when I was in third grade, I saw Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. That was my first time seeing a Black girl on the cover of a children's book. And it wasn't until working at Ebony that I saw a book called Something Beautiful. And that was my second time seeing a Black girl on the cover of a children's book. So from third grade all the way to when I was an editor for Ebony. And I just thought that, I was an African American Studies major at Syracuse University. And my mission is to make sure that our story gets told and we're affirmed. So I thought this was a way for me to help and give back. Really blessed that my first publisher was Just Us Books, which is a Black-owned, family-owned children's book publisher in East Orange, New Jersey. They really nurtured me, showed me the ropes, gave me my first two book deals. First book was Eddie's Ordeal, a chapter book. Excuse me. Second book was 1 Million Men and Me, about the Million Man March. And then I went on to get an agent, and last year was my 20th anniversary writing children's books. And I have more than 30 books. I write Easy Readers, the Tides Travels Easy Reader series. I write several chapter book series, Jada Jones and Miles Lewis, as well as 2 books in the She Persisted series that Chelsea Clinton created, and many picture books that celebrate Black history and family life.
When you talk about your previous life as a journalist, how did that impact what you do now? Did that make it easier? Did it make it harder? Does it help you get past things like writer's block that regular
Right.
people have?
Right. So it's a different muscle. It's a different kind of writing, but definitely when I do historical fiction, when I do nonfiction, the research side kicks in. So that's really beneficial. And also to your point, when you're working for a newspaper, longer deadlines for a magazine, but you still have that deadline, you have to get it out. Like sometimes there are people that hold these stories in their hearts, for decades, and they just don't know how to share them. But being a feature writer, any kind of writing that has a deadline teaches you that you have to get something on the page. So when I actually teach children's writing from time to time, and just like when kids are in school, they call it sloppy copies. Go ahead and get it out. It might be not that great. That's okay. You can always polish it later. So that's something that comes with being a professional writer.
It can be a hot mess, but just get it out.
Right. Get it out. Give yourself something to work with.
And so you talked about being able to tell your own stories. And in the era in which we live, where those voices, whether it's people of color, women, the LGBTQ community,
Yeah.
anybody who isn't straight, white, and male, those voices are now being clawed back, whether it's intentional or unintentional.
Right.
It seems to be there's more stress now on being able to tell those stories despite the current atmosphere that we live in.
Right.
How important is that to you in terms of, like you said, you've been at this for 20 years now, you've got skin in the game. How do you keep pushing when society-wise there seems to be a retrenchment in telling those unique and uniquely American stories?
They are. And I mean, that's such an important point that Black history, which the notion of Black history is being challenged, but it is American history. So, you can't tell the story of this country without us because we, built this country literally. But for me, when I think about all of the challenges that we're facing now, I draw from the strength of those who have come before. These are, we're facing different times, but at the same time, it does harken back to a very difficult, time in our history and how people persevered and came together and stood strong and built up institutions within the community when they weren't getting a hearing with the, um, you know, uh, larger community. So I think all of those strategies should be used now. We should support our Black press. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate that. We should support our Black owned publishers, Black owned bookstores, our Black authors. I want to challenge your audience. Sometimes you'll go to a store, whatever store, and you'll see a brown face on the cover, and you'll think it's a Black author. Please take the next step of opening it up and looking at the back on the flap and see who wrote and who illustrated that book. Sometimes it's not. And it's really important for us to be intentional with our purchases. It sends a message to the publishers that we value authenticity, that will support those creators from our community, that we are not interchangeable, that they need to make sure that they're drawing and nurturing and supporting talent from within. So I think that we can have a real role in, despite all of this chaos and all of this, really troubling, scary stuff that is going on. We've come through before and will come through again, but the key is being unified and being intentional. Intentional. Your dollar, where you spend, that's a political statement. So please, be really mindful of that and challenge yourself and others to support Black creators.
If you were a scientist
Mhm.
and you were challenged to go off and create a book author, what ingredients would you need to create
Whoa,
that author?
that's an interesting question. Well, definitely, um, you need persistence. I'm going to name that first, even before talent, because it's hard. You put your whole heart, like we say, you put your heart on the page, and then you send your story out, and often you get lots of no's. So how do you keep going when when you keep getting turned down? Something that many of us say often and we repeat to ourselves is, you only need one yes. It doesn't matter if you get 100 no's. All you need is one yes, and then you're on your path to having a published book. And if you don't get that yes, sometimes it may be the story isn't ready. You could work on it more. Sometimes they're not ready for your story, and you may consider publishing it some other way. So there's many different paths. I think also grace is needed. Publishing a book feels great, and it's such an honor, but we need to know that we're in service to our readers. Um, they are not in service to us. So we want to be sure to be there for them and write with them in mind, particularly children's literature. When you're writing for kids and helping them to be able to see themselves. There's a children's literature scholar, Dr. Redeem Sims Bishop, and she talks about books being mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors. So they're sliding glass doors where you feel like you're literally part of the story world. They are windows where you can see into other lives and cultures, but the mirrors is the most important job for me as a Black children's book author, making sure our kids know that they matter and that their families are important and their stories deserve to be shared. And Toni Morrison says, if there's a book you want to read and it hasn't been written yet, you should write it. So part of our goal is not just to inspire kids, to reflect kids, but also to inspire them to be the future writers and future artists and future editors so that we can have equity.
Yeah. Well said. And
Thank
so
you.
I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today, Kelly Starling Lyons, author, and now she has a play.
Yay!
uh,
Thank you so much. And if you want
is
to,
acted to the stage, and
yes.
we appreciate all of you for listening to and watching The Creatives. Go to our website, thecharlottepost.com. Support our work by becoming a donor or a subscriber or even some other way.
That would be wonderful. If I
Plenty
could
of
just
ways to
mention
do that.
one other thing that I forgot. This Saturday, the Gantt
Sure.
Center is
Mhm.
having a hat making workshop inspired by the play. So you can go and learn how to make your own hat, and then you'll get a code for a discounted ticket for the play. So once again, I'm so grateful for the Children's Theater of Charlotte, Grooming Greatness, Shay and Monique over there, and BCDI Carolinas, and the Gantt Center for all their support.
Absolutely. So support the play, support the author, support the Gantt Center, and support the post while you're at it. So thank
Yes,
you
please do.
again, Kelly, and much success, not only with this book and this particular play, but for everything going down the road into the future. Thanks so much.
Thank you.